Welcome back to part 2 of Freak the Geek, where we've been discussing the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. As mentioned last week, I think there's a scene that's lifted directly from Hitchcock's own movies. Often dismissed as Hitchcock's greatest puff piece, To Catch a Thief, made in 1955, is a movie that's all about the chase. Everyone in this movie is either pursuing someone or they're being pursued. Grace Kelly chases flirtatiously after Cary Grant. Meanwhile, Cary Grant is chasing down the villains who've framed him for a series of robberies. Everyone from the cops to an organized crime ring are caught up in this chase. Naturally, this movie is filled with all kinds of literal chases, on foot, by boat, and by car. As drunk off his butt, Philip says in Hitchcock's Rope,
Cat and mouse, cat and mouse. Which is the cat and which is the mouse?
In one of those chases, notice how Grace Kelly blithely, coolly speeds down the winding roads of Monaco.
I've lived in 27 different towns and cities.
Why? Somebody chasing you?
Boys.
Well, you can stop running now.
When I was 10, my father died, and they discovered oil on our land, and that's when I really started to travel.
You mean the boys' fathers were chasing you?
I think that scene was the blueprint for this one from Tokyo Drift.
We used to come up here when we were kids. Even before we could drive, we'd cut class, sneak out, come up here and watch the older kids drift. Things were different back then.
Here's something else that the director of Tokyo Drift, Justin Lin, has in common with Hitchcock. Throughout his life, Hitchcock was considered just another reliably good entertainer. He never won an Oscar for crying out loud. It wasn't until late in his career that the French, always the French, started to recognize him for the genius he was. In the same way, people tend to look at franchise movies like Fast and the Furious as mindless fluff entertainment. But in recent years, a movement has been gaining traction to reconsider the work of these so-called populist directors. It's called the vulgar auteur theory. And guess what? Justin Lin's name often figures at the top of the list. The point is, it can be tempting to dismiss these films as less worthy of our consideration because they appeal to a mass audience, not an art house crowd. Critics cite recurring themes in his films such as dislocation from home and the tensions arising from cultural differences that show up in his films repeatedly, from Tokyo Drift to Star Trek Beyond, as evidence of a singular artistic vision. Hitch faced those prejudices in his day, and guess what? His films later became art house favorites. Sometimes the best art of our times is hiding in plain sight. I wouldn't necessarily put Tokyo Drift in that category, but who cares? It's an exciting film. And the framing and editing of the racing scenes have a dreamlike lucidity that I think Hitchcock would have appreciated. Maybe it's time to give Justin Lin a second look. Thanks, Joe Bartolucci, for that great question and for turning me on to a fun movie. Next, patron Wendy Beck has asked me to take a closer look at Dead Ringers. See you soon.